Good evening and welcome to the City of Oxford's Commissioners Board meeting. It's 7 p.m. Tuesday, July 15, 2025. If you may please silence your phone, mute, however you feel like it's better. At this time, we're going to initiate with a roll call. Commissioner Bellis.
Present.
Commissioner Lumpkins.
Present.
Commissioner Brooks.
Present.
Commissioner McCray.
Present.
Mayor Pro Temp.
Present.
Commissioner Bridges.
Here.
Commissioner Tovey.
Present.
City Manager.
Present.
City Attorney.
Here.
At this time, I want to ask Mr. Calixto Carvajal to come and lead us in a prayer, opening prayer, sir. We need a translator, Mr. Bellis, you'd like to translate for the gentleman?
I prefer to leave that to you, Mr. Mayor. Your Spanish is a whole lot better than mine.
Dios les bendiga.
God bless you.
Saludo a toda la asamblea.
Greetings for everyone on the board.
Vamos a compartir un verso bíblico. Es muy importante poner todo en la mano de Dios.
I'm going to share with you a verse from the Bible. It's good to put everything in God's hands.
Les voy a pedir que nos pongamos de pie.
Wants us, we stand if you want to. He's asking us.
Efesios, carta a los Efesios, capítulo 3, verso 20.
Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20.
Dice la escritura,
Ryan says,
y aquel
and he
que es poderoso
that is powerful
para hacer
to do
todas las cosas
all the things,
mucho más
much more
abundante
abundant,
de lo que pedimos
that more abundant than we ask
o entendemos,
or understand,
según
in accordance
el poder
the power
que actúa en nosotros.
that acts on us.
A Él
To him,
sea la gloria
all the glory
en el pueblo,
down
en Cristo Jesús,
in Christ's name,
por todas las edades,
for all ages,
por los siglos de los siglos.
the siglos to siglos.
Amén.
Amen.
Amén.
No.
May we all stand and place the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
At this time, we'll consider adjustment to and approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any adjustments?
Mr. Mayor, I want to add, for discussion purposes, the property that we spoke about across from Revlon that the city owns, for September.
Is there a motion?
I don't understand them. You want to discuss it tonight?
Add a discussion tonight to call for a public hearing
Hearing.
in September.
In September.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Velez, Commissioner Velez, can you please give more details to board members so everyone be aware?
Okay, 2 months ago in the Planning Development Committee meeting, we spoke about the property that's owned by the city that sits across the street from Revlon. This property has been vacant for a long time, been unable to sell it for commercial use or anything. And so a lot of cities, they use properties as properties that they own as an incentive for a builder to be able to build homes or townhomes or something for a more affordable rate as an incentive. And so it was discussed in the committee, and it was voted on to pass it on to the Board of Commissioners for a public hearing to get the input of the community on how they feel about it, whether they in favor of it, those who think that it might be a good thing or not a good thing.
My city manager, you're like,
So what you need to do is at the end here, you'll have that discussion where you want to set that date for in September. So if you're not doing anything right now, just like we have that formal discussion, you obviously give an explanation of what it is. And then when it comes up in the agenda, you just decide whether you want to have that in September.
okay.
One question. We were approached by a developer that wanted to do that at a low cost.
Yeah.
It'd be better if we all discuss that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion is to have it
Yeah, well, it was-
today's meeting. We have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. To provide for the highest standards of behavior and transparency in governance, the Board of Commissioners has approved a code of ethics to establish guidelines for ethical standards for board members and to provide guidance in determining appropriate conduct. Among those board members shall avoid impropriety in exercising their official duties and conduct the affairs of the board openly and publicly. If any board member knows of a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict, please state so at this time. There's no conflicts this time. Let the record note, no conflicts of interest. We gonna have our first, we move into the delegation phase. We have a discussion led by a presentation by our city manager. With an invitation to citizens comment afterwards. I think we have Mr. Powell will make a statement afterwards, following the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight's conversation is about parking. The reason we're having this discussion is because we've had some complaints from some business owners about short-term spaces being occupied by either business owners, employees that are not necessarily dependent on the high volume of traffic, or it doesn't make a difference to them, and they utilize those spaces. And court business, preventing other customers from using some of the same spaces. And then also to receive any suggestions tonight from the public. I do want to emphasize that this was not a commission or staff-driven initiative. This was driven by the business owners downtown. And when you have some of them at least, and when you have enough of them, at some point you got to look at it and address it. So, all right, so there was a creation of a parking task force. As the mayor mentioned, the chair of that was Robert Powell, who's here. He might speak for a minute on the nuts and bolts of the task force, but the main thing they were looking at was enforcement, wayfinding signage to public parking, improving the attractiveness of public parking areas, and to alter some of the time parking spaces. So some things we looked at, and then at retreat, if you recall, we had initial discussion about some of these things. Some of the things that you said we wanted to go ahead and move on was improving wayfinding signage to parking areas. If you're going to look at enforcement, you want to make sure everybody knows where the options are for people to park. In particular, spaces that are not timed, which is what those wayfinding signage will do. Make those parking areas more attractive, better lighting, beautification, improved signage. And some of the, and really kind of what the two biggest issues are is, you want to have time spaces, and if so, where and how long? When I'm referring to time spaces, 2 hours, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, most of which are already present. And then what type of enforcement, if any, for adherence to time parking. What this shows is where we project to put wayfinding signage. So if you're coming in, say off Ed5, or you're not familiar with Oxford, there would be signs there to direct you to roughly about 5 lots that you can park at, and it would not be time parking. Okay. This is not exactly what the signs will look like, but this is what we're kind of gearing toward. Is we want to present a good image with our signage, and that's what we're looking at now with the rebranding and the other things that we can do. So that's in general what it looks like. We have 2 walkways, 2 parking, Main Street to Little John, and then from Williamsboro Street to the parking behind the Orphan, actually beside the Orphan. So you see this image here, it's got some lighting. It's this obviously was taken place in the wintertime, Christmas time. But we would make that very attractive, lit up, you feel secure, so you know you can go to that park. Because sometimes, especially on court day, I've driven around, and yeah, it's packed around court day, but you go behind the Oregon, and most recently, there's like 20 spaces there. Well, we got to get people there, we got to direct them there. And so those are some of the things that we can do. So tonight is really just kind of continue the discussion. Commissioners aren't making any decisions tonight, to get some feedback from you. And tonight's not a drop dead deadline. You come up with something over the next, few days. We'll consider all that. But some of the things that we're looking at are 15-minute parking. That's already placed around the post office. Okay, so that's not anything new. 2-hour parking is present already. Now the 30-minute that we have put in there is because we got some feedback about some primarily food service businesses that maybe people want to come to Jericho, it would be helpful to have a space in front of the building instead of coming to Jericho. So that's why that's there. is for that particular purpose. Again, parking lots would not be time, we're basically talking about on-street parking, Main Street, Williamsburg, and then, like I said, we'll see. If you got any different better suggestions, we're open. That's what tonight's all about. Anytime in the near future, we're very open. Okay. All right, so you can kind of see here, just to kind of remind you, most of this is already 2-hour parking. You see a few spots with 30-minute deal. You may want more, you may want less, you may not want any, but that's something that certainly we can talk about, but that's the reason was for food service to take place. There was a question that came up in some of the emails, why is one set different than the other? That was the 30-minute parking, again, that relates back to take away the 5 to 7 hours. Sometimes we might get it just, that's why it's different than the other signage. All right, of course, the big question is about enforcement. Okay. Now, commissioners, unless you tell us otherwise, we're not intended to be ticket vultures here, because really that's not what we're set up to do and want to do. So look, we're talking about common sense enforcement. And what we're trying to do is change the behavior of those that really abuse the time parking. And some of that is people that go to work or own business there and they park on those streets there. And that eats up space that could be turned over with a park lot. We would not begin parking enforcement until we have all the signage in place. We want to be able to point, this is where you can go to the park. So, and it will take place as needed. If you have a day where it's not very crowded and there's several spaces open, and you have somebody may park for 4 hours, why you give them a ticket if they got 8 other spaces? But they're going to be most days where a lot of them are full, a lot of spaces are occupied, and that's when we need to have the turnover. And we're not going to hammer you at 2 hours and 1 minute if you're there, because obviously you want people to have a good experience. But if you start getting into that 3-hour range, 4-hour range, you're probably not here to do it commerce, so you're probably one of those employees, most likely, but not necessarily. So the overall concept of enforcement is we're not trying to make this a miserable experience for people here, but what we hear is that the turnover needs to take place in some of these parks. So that's what we're trying to encourage. All right, so what are the next steps? Basically, get some feedback tonight, along with others that have been submitted. Any comments that may come up in a short time after this meeting. Create an ordinance that reflects what we think most of the community would like to do. We would have another public hearing at that time, because we would actually have an ordinance that would give days about discussion and input. And then we would start implementation, and after several months of implementation, we evaluate and adjust. Okay. So right now, that's where we are with this. Council, if you have any questions of me, I'd be glad to answer them. If not, then I think at this point, you would probably want to just go ahead and turn it over to any public comment.
Mr. Powell, would you like to talk about?
He did a really good job.
Okay, great. Great.
One of the things we did is we.
Mr. Powell,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Thank you.
I should say where I live on Robert Powell, I live on Raleigh Street in Oxford. Been here most of my life. One of the things that we learned in doing this, parking, exploratory, mission was we found that a lot of people use it on public parking lots as permanent storage. after the hot sauce festival, there was a pickup truck in Virginia that stayed behind Ace Hardware for nearly a month. We didn't have any enforcement or signage up to be able to tow that vehicle because it just, you don't let them know. So there were people abusing it, and we kind of, you learn. If you go on a Sunday night and you look at the parking lots, you can see that people were leaving their vehicles there all the time. So we now, I think, have a better understanding of the lots. We also got a lot of, probably, I can think of 23 spaces that freed up on Watkins Street right behind the Walker, where the city and the county and other started taking some of the vehicles that would be sold, and those vehicles were moved to other locations. So I think with the signage and with the cooperation that we've had with businesses, government, both county and city, that we've come a long way. And everybody's trying to work together for a common goal, which is to make this a more vibrant town. And so I think that any input, additional input that can be given is a great thing. But I think we've come a long ways, and maybe you don't see it, but I think I see it because I go to the gym at 7:30 in the morning, and it used to be cars taking these spots there. They moved. There were 4 or 5 spaces that were there every morning. They took them there all day long. So I think people with the letters that came out and with the from downtown parking authority, not the parking authority, but downtown businesses, that people have paid attention and tried to do better. So I think as we work together, we can encourage this to be this system and make it a better place, better utilization of the parking spaces.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Powell, for taking on this task for us. Is there any comment from anyone would like to?
You need to ask for the public.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come speak on parking?
I guess I'll be first. I'm Betty McCoy, 408 Kingsbury Street. If we could get, I think, some flyers or something like that, and give to the deputy sheriff that works the courthouse there when you first go upstairs to the court, get them to hand out that a brochure or something that they could hand out to everybody that comes in there, and let them read it and show them where parking spaces is, and they let them know that there are parking spaces across the street in that area. I think that would help us a long way if we could do that. The first thing is get them, and because they sit there, they know what's going on in the street, and they could let them know. Because when you go in and you forget your cell phone and you got it, they got a place where they take your cell phone and pick it up when you come back. So that would be a good start if we could get the sheriff and then his deputies help, and we give them a brochure and let them know that there are parking spaces, or we put some money in the budget, let someone sit there with them for 30 or 60 days, letting them know that there is a place that a vacant parking space across the street. Bridget, I think they'll take that because if we pay them, they on the inside, they're not getting wet. They're where it's warm and where it's cold. And except for 60 or 90 days, someone that deputized the sheriff or the city work together like to do the school resource. And I think that will help us just to get them started. And I think that will, once they get started and we try to do the same thing, I think that would be a start. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Is there anyone else? Ma'am?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lady Galloway, and my husband is in Blackisville, Galloway. We owners of Nail Salon here for the street. And first of all, I want to say thank you so much for what you're both doing, working hard about the parking. We really, the town, I think, it really needs something like that because, like Mr. Brent said, it's been abused by some local workers. The only problem with our business is that some of the services that we offer, it takes longer than 2 hours. We have as well hairdressers in the back, and also one lady offers facials. So sometimes when we have a lady who is doing a mani-pedi, it normally takes an hour and a half, something like that. And if they decide to do hair, it's probably another hour. So we're talking about 2.5 hours to a little more than that. Another situation that we have is that sometimes we have parties, bridal parties that the ladies, want to gather together and have some fun. Sometimes we have 7, 8, 10 ladies at the same time, and they all come together because they want to have time together, like I mentioned a minute ago. So when we have parties like that, it takes even more. It takes like up to 4 hours. So I would like for you to consider our situation that 2 hours is not going to work for our business. So I don't know what we can do about that. Maybe have a tag or something that we can provide to our customers when we have customers that is going to take longer than 2 hours. So maybe something to consider. And I know I'm not the only one with that issue, but I was speaking for our own business that we have. So maybe something that can be considered. Thank you so much for giving me time for this answer.
Thank you, Mrs. Galloway. Is there anyone else? Mr. Thomas.
Larry Thomas, 207 East Front Street. The only concerns that I have with the thing is suggested is sign clutter. You can add a whole bunch of signs to the downtown. Hopefully they will be effective, but there can be a whole lot more. And when we're trying to become a destination city, so don't make it too confusing for the people coming from out of town finding parking space. I don't know how you do that, but and one thing I wanted to have some clarity on too. I guess the color coding was just for reference to what you're not going to paint the downtown purple or red or anything, just to make sure. And then the other thing is cost. More signs cost more to maintain and everything.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Sir?
I'll be brief. I never speak up. Todd Allred. I live on 421 Coggeshall Street. And by night and weekend and whenever, I'm doing Oxford Music, which is hoping to become a destination location. It is definitely in the process of doing just that, gaining a customer base pretty quickly. Every now and then I'll get a customer that comes in and spends over 2 hours digging through the crates, but that's unlikely. I was here to speak on a couple of issues that I didn't see, and that was more in relation to, I would like it to be added in, safety related. Okay, so people seem to totally, it seems to me, because I'm downtown a lot, people seem to totally believe that it's okay to do a U-turn right there at, Main Street and Little Joe to get back to the post office. And while somebody's backing out, it's a lot of close calls. Or somebody's coming down the street, a lot of close calls. I think that type of thing, and then also I'm guilty of having a what is considered to be a small SUV. It's a minivan SUV, but when compared to some of the big trucks, it's about a third of the size. So when I park in there, yeah, like one of the small cars parks next to me, I might have a big car. But when I'm backing out, I feel like I'm praying every time that somebody's not going to be coming to nail the back of my car, or I'm not going to hit him. Because you can't see, there's no sight line with the diagonal parking. I don't know what the solution is. But I wanted to bring up those two things because I thought they were relevant.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell?
I'm Russell Davis, 311 Pine Tree Road. Time today. Has there been any consideration to a parking deck? I'm just curious. That might be something. I know there's a few parking areas. One there by the bank, just right behind us on the other side of the city hall. That location I think is overlooked often during court days. People piled up in the lot behind Strong Arm, the law offices and everything, cars everywhere, and then one car in that lot. I think maybe making people aware of some of the other lots would be helpful. In Hot Sauce Festival, it always amazes me that we get 30,000 plus people down here, and they all find a place to park. It's pretty incredible. I don't know how that happens, but the parking deck I think would be a good idea. I don't know that budget-wise, of course, that's a very large expense. But that would very much help. You could actually use that as a paid system. A lot of the times, Monday through Friday, up to a certain point, is paid, and the weekends are free for that parking. And that may be something with the current situation where you're looking at the signage and the timelines. To have that Monday through Friday timeline, paid parking possibly to kind of make those spots on the actual street a little bit more like that's an incentive-based kind of thing. If you want to use that spot, you have to pay for that spot. But then the rest of the city lots would be open and available. You just may have to do some extra walking. And I think that some of that convenience of people just pulling right up in front of a business, walking in, and being right there, that convenience kind of overrides a lot of the decisions in that parking situation. So, just some thoughts and ideas. Just figured out those out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Anyone else in the public audience would like to make a comment? Okay. How about the board members, commissioners, any comments?
Well, I feel like I want to express this. I was happy to hear the manager say that he would not be trying to have time parking in parking lots. And I certainly understand time parking in front of businesses. Of course, I've heard some businesses say they may have clients in there for 4 hours. I mean, I don't know if we can legitimately allow certain businesses to have 4-hour parking, and then other businesses to only have 30-minute parking. I'm not sure how workable that is. Either we have rotation in front of businesses or we don't. Yeah, I work in the court system. I go to the courthouse a lot, and I have clients who have business in the courthouse. And it is certainly important to me that there are parking spaces that are not, that are in the parking lot that are not timed. I mean, I understand in front of businesses, but that parking lot behind the courthouse, first come, first serve. Except the Strong Arm Bakery.
I would like to say to Mr. Allred, am I pronouncing it correct? I think all the time I've been on the board, U-turns on Main Street have been an issue. Before the medium, we were thinking that the medium would curtail it, that it would stop people from making that U-turn. I don't know what it will take. But that has been a problem. That has been a problem. That's it.
Anyone else? I think we need to add it on this thing. We need to establish a loading zone. It's difficult. I see a lot of customers and that park downtown a certain time of day when supplies are being delivered. It's just so difficult for them to get out of the parking space or get into the parking space. All depends where the supply trucks are there. And the other thing about it is they come around the roundabouts. We have signs that says no trucks on Front Street and certain streets, and it's ignored. Well, maybe some of the signs need to be updated, but we need to look at that. If we should look into establish a loading zone for all clients, all vendors, to make it more safe for the citizens of Oxford to navigate in and out of parking downtown. With that, we're concluded. Any more comments on this subject? If not, Mrs. Kennedy.
I could be mistaken, but at a commissioners meeting, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I believe there was an ordinance passed that you cannot do a J-turn.
Yes, there was.
So,
Okay.
just so you know, there is one on.
I think one time the city had, could be right, 4 or 5 years ago, they had someone downtown taking care of parking and giving tickets and so forth like that. They had an employee doing that, doing certain hours a day.
There was controversy over is it a U-turn or is it a J-turn? You know, that was an old commissioner that's no longer with us. Would argue that it's a J-turn and not a U-turn. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a U-turn, right?
The highway patrol calls it a T-bone crash. If down there, one of the worst situations for me is if you're at like Oasis or at your business and a F-250 or 350 is parked beside you. If my car didn't beep, I definitely would have been wrecked several times by now. When there's a large vehicle beside you, if your car is not equipped with the electronics to tell you that there's a car coming, approaching, you still have to creep out very slowly. And that's regardless of where you are downtown. It's just the areas are so tight. So I don't know if we could restrict the large vehicles, but that definitely, I think, creates even more of a hazard when you have very large vehicles down there because it's so tight on that street.
So I guess we have a lot more work to do on this parking thing. So we'll keep going, as the city manager said, and we take your inputs and we'll continue to work on this. Okay. We're now moving out of delegations into public comment. Citizens may speak on the agenda as well as non-agenda items at this time. Citizens wishing to address the board should register the name which they have and the subject they wish to address with the city clerk prior to beginning the meeting. We'll encourage speakers to be courteous and respectful during this portion of the meeting in which citizen input is heard. Please refrain from profanity, inappropriate gestures, insults, personal attacks, or accusation. Please review the citizens' comment guideline that the city clerk provides. Each presentation will be limited to 5 minutes. And with this, we move our first public comment come from Mrs. Karen McGee. This is 107 Warren Avenue, Oxford, North Carolina.
Right, I just wanted to answer the questions from the last agenda meeting. And I'll speak up since I can't get to the mic. We had talked about inclusionary zoning, and I had put
information about Apex in a more specific manner. And in doing so, questions were asked about Chapel Hill. So I went and got the information from the folks at Chapel Hill. And this is new construction at Chapel Hill. Basically, they have a community home trust that, because of the decades of them doing inclusionary zoning and affordable housing and so forth, that they have allocated these folks as the people who actually buy the homes, place the people in the homes, sell them the homes and so forth. And as you can see, and the other thing that I was told, I spoke with the affordable housing manager in Chapel Hill, and one of the things that she said that the council there is much more interested in density, higher density homes, because that way they can make it more affordable. And the other thing she says is they're running out of space. And one of the other things that I had learned when I went to visit Chapel Hill is the fact that they're saying now that UNC students are only guaranteed a dorm room their first year, and then the last 3 years they got to find housing however they find housing. It's a lottery system. And so just so you notice, and I put the URL, so you can go and look at, these are just the most recent homes, and as you could imagine, most of the homes sell pretty quickly. So this was one that was under contract, and then 2 others that were available. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath for $185,000. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath for $200,000, and then another 3-bedroom. I'm sorry, the first one. I'm sorry.
The first was a one bed.
One
bedroom, 1.5 bath.
185, right? Excuse me. And the other 2 3-bedrooms, 2.5 baths, $200,000 and $190,000. And then there's a little bit of information from their website about their community home trust and what they do in terms of providing affordable housing and using inclusionary zoning in order to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. At this time, I call on Mr. Willie Merrill, 214 MLK Drive, MLK Avenue, Montford.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, to the board. I'm Willie Merrill, my wife Margie Merrill. We are proprietors of Martin Luther King Boulevard, Boulevard menswear, unique floral representing design. So my issue and our problem is we need help in cleaning up that area. Over the last month and a half, we've had issues. One of the issues a few months back that we come in on the next day and we get a report that we had an individual fall off the wall. So therefore, we didn't know anything about it. So when we were trying to find out what were they saying about an individual fall off the wall, that brick wall, that's where the basement is, where she had room, chairs and tables and things. But the guys from the community and the ladies from the community feel that they can use this the way that they want to after hours. So we are here trying to get help or some answers in what we need to do, help from the police department to help us keep this area safe and clean. Over the weekend, we had a report and we had to get someone to clean it up because we had the young man in the wheelchair. I'm not gonna call his name, but we had the young man in the wheelchair use the bathroom on the corner of the store lot in the convenience store. And he also went behind the wall to use the bathroom. So we had to get someone to clean this up. And the convenience store seems to be where the majority of the trash comes from. So I'm here asking from the board and maybe from the police department, can we get support to help us with this situation? And because also it's safe. Because if someone falls off the wall, and we put up the sign, we put up the no trespass, no parking, but the exception for on Sunday morning use for the church next door. So I'm asking, is it any way possible that we can get it policed up more, and to find out, could we get them to just clear the lot, because we ask them that every day. But that's my concern, that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Ms. Merrill. This is a subject we have dealt with quite a bit, so we all know what we have to do. So we'll circle back, and we really need to get with this. Next up is Mrs. Grace Kennedy from 124 Pine Cone Drive. Topic of discussion, planning board.
Good evening, commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Taylor, friends, and neighbors. I'm Grace Kennedy, and I'm honored to stand before you today as a candidate for the open seat on the city planning board, which we will be voting on whether or not to add later this evening. For the past 8 years, Oxford has been more than just my home. It has been my home, but it's also been my community, my inspiration, my motivation to give back. I've been more active in this city than any other city I've lived in. Over the years, I've had the privilege of volunteering for numerous projects. As a member of the DOEDC, now Ox Forward, I designed, coordinated with city staff and the volunteers in our city for the plantings on Main Street, solicited and selected the waterscape vendor, worked with the VGCC Community College to make the 2 trellises. That was one of their welding program summer project. I'm one of 4 founding members of OxCan, the Community Action Network, which has many volunteers. I'm a founding member and organizer of the Granville Arts Council, and I participated in other civic activities. I've enjoyed being active and engaged in our community, but I would like to take the next step. I'm not applying for this position for any personal or financial gain. I seek only the opportunity to serve and represent the people of Oxford with integrity, transparency, and fairness. If selected, I will approach every decision through the lens of our UDO, and comprehensive plan, ensuring that growth and development align with our community's values and long-term vision. I believe thoughtful city planning is one of the most important ways we can shape the future of Oxford. It affects where we live, how we move, how we do business, how we grow, and what kind of legacy we're going to leave. If selected as your representative, I will listen, learn, and work collaboratively to make sure those are reflected in every decision made. It's funny, I applied for this position in early May, and after realizing I hadn't received any update or heard anything, I stopped by City Hall last week and spoke with our city clerk. She told me y'all will be voting tonight on this position, and it was purely happenstance that I went by City Hall, so I'm grateful that I'm here tonight to not only let you see me, but ask any questions you might have of me. I respectfully ask for your support and your trust as I step forward in offering myself for this position. And I really feel like together we can build a city we're proud to call home. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kennedy. This concludes public comment. I think it's all fair to say there's 2 candidates, and do I need to offer this other candidate the opportunity to present himself, or we can just move on?
If they're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
think it would be.
Mr. Ginch, in this situation, we have both candidates here. I think it's only appropriate. Would you like to address the board?
Good evening, Pierre Jang, 220 South Street Drive. I did not prepare any statement, I didn't know we were doing that, so I apologize. I did put my application in last fall, just when we moved into the city from the county. I've been involved in downtown Oxford for 7 years or so, since we put the stone balls, and I've been involved in numerous projects. So I have a vested interest in all of what happens in Oxford. I've come from a construction and engineering background, so planning board was something that I was very interested in. That was a good opportunity to sort of plug in on a citywide scale most of my efforts. Thus far, I've been focused in downtown Oxford, DOEDC, and downtown business community. So that's why I put my name in the hat. I just didn't know when the spot would open up, but this spring, unfortunately, it did. So that's why I submitted my intent to participate here.
Thank you, sir. As we get with that, we have two candidates that are really involved in the city, and they do a lot of things throughout the city. So I just think it was appropriate. We heard from one, we heard from another, and it's not too often you get two good candidates for a position that's open where we only have one. Okay, this concludes our public comment slash bio, we want to call it. We move to the public hearing section. Citizens may only speak of public hearing items at this time. First order of business is consider changing the text amendment from mobile food vendors to include push carts. The planning board recommended the proposal be denied.
Mayor, I think skip the public hearing part.
Yeah.
Text on that. So you need to have the public hearing before you have the.
Yeah, go back to.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay. At this time, I believe Mrs. Hosmer, you'd like to make a presentation? Please do so.
Mayor, if you would.
Public hearing is now open.
I was looking over the agenda this evening in Houseman 306 Broad Street. As I was looking over the agenda and at the attachments that were sent to you, I noticed a few things were missing. I have emailed you already with an asking that Bowman include 3 additional letters of support from businesses that were not sent to you. I have a copy of 2 of them. The third one I didn't have. So I have a copy I'm going to pass around as we're going, but it's already been emailed to hopefully include in the minutes. Okay. So thank you. This is just a brief overview of what I would like to cover tonight. I'm going to try and keep it brief as possible, but also to be thorough and make sure that we are all on the same page about what it is exactly that I shared with you. So go ahead. I, after going back and forth with the planning board, felt like it was important to do a quick introduction of myself. I know this slide doesn't look quick, so I am Anna Hoffman. I've been married for 12 years. I have 2 children here. I am autistic and have ADHD. You will find typos in anything that I present to you. It is something that I constantly battle. I am a retired pediatric therapist for 10 years, served as the director of marketing and PR for a pediatric therapy clinic in Durham, and am a former adjunct professor from UNC. I have lived in Oxford since 2016. I own 3 businesses, all based in Oxford, Daisy Chain Ceramics, and then I co-own Pushcart and Sanctum with, along with Ray Williams. I'm the owner, or along with Ray Williams, I'm the owner of 305 Williamsboro Street, so the Catholic Church, or former Catholic Church, across from us here, where Sanctum, Daisy Chain, and the Pushcart will all be housed. And I'm also an active member and volunteer within Ox Forward. Downtown Restaurant Initiative and the Granville Arts Council. Just to brief. This proposal is not a push cart ordinance, and this is also not an ordinance to allow push carts. That language has been used a lot, and I think it has led to some confusion. Push carts are already allowed in Oxford through the mobile food ordinance as it is currently written. What this proposal is, however, is I'm proposing that we amend and improve the guidelines as a whole and specifically address access to public space. So you will hear me tonight reference both food trucks and push carts in an effort to consider all. I did not feel like it was pertinent for me to only consider and only write an ordinance that suited only my needs. Okay. So the intent behind this amendment proposal is that I wanted to clarify the use and zoning regulations for mobile food vendors in the city of Oxford, with the ultimate goal that I would like to see Oxford be vibrant and diverse, where our citizens go, they stop, they get out of their cars, they get out of their homes, and they spend their time, their energy, and their money with us in downtown. I want Oxford to be where they go because there's a variety of choices and because accessing them is easy, it's fun. Yeah. Oh, and that picture was a picture of us in the current way that the ordinance has been interpreted for Oxford Music's grand opening. We could not be in front of the building. This is a larger setup than what we do if we were on a sidewalk, which we can talk about later. But for Oxford Music's grand opening, we had to be next to porta potties and dumpsters. So it's not the most appealing place to get a hot dog. But I thought that was important to highlight that. Not only is that a poor look for us, but it's not a great look for Oxford Music either. And these are two businesses locally invested, but we're kind of doing a disservice to both of us there. Okay. So I have been asked, don't we have enough restaurants already? The current restaurants that we have are listed. We have 6, well now 7 because Angora had opened yesterday. And Sanctum will be joining us later this year. In addition, I looked at other specialty shops, places that serve beverages, or sometimes hosted like the Hub, sometimes host pop-up vendors and things of that nature. We also have 2 specialty shops coming to us at some point this year, where the Humble Floor and Wild Care Bookstore. So it seems like there's a reasonable amount of choices in downtown Oxford, except I made a chart of when all these restaurants are open. And you will see that we live in, despite having 7 now, I have to go back and add in more. So if we go off the basis of 6, at no point in the week are all 6 restaurants open. And only 3 times in a week are 5 open. So if you see, I mean, late night is obviously not something that we have going on here, but more often than not in the morning, you're lucky to have 2. And it seems like the middle of the week we kind of pick up a little bit, but on the weekends and early in the week, we're missing out, and there is not a lot of choice for our brick and mortar restaurants that we have currently. And I foresee that that's going to be really hard to change based on our current building codes and things like that, the amount of money that it would take for us to go in and fix, I know because I'm doing it, to fix a building in downtown, it's a lot. And to bring it up to code and maintain any like historical or aesthetic things that we have going on, it's a lot of money. So it is going to be really hard to change this number if we don't do something a little bit different. Okay. So how would having more prominent and accessible mobile food help? For one, there's local partnerships. Having mobile food collaborate with the small businesses that we have in town can boost our economy, bring regional pride. It's also a way for us to help spread the word. A lot of times, like the Bush Park, for example, is very active on social media. So if Oxford Music brings us to their grand opening, not only are we promoting us, but we're also promoting Oxford Music. So there's lots of ways that we're supporting one another as a community, and we're supporting innovation and young entrepreneurs. Again, it is really hard, it is really expensive to outfit an entire kitchen in an old building that is historic or is within a historic community. To have to upfit a sprinkler system alone is over $20,000. So when we think about how we want to use our space and what people who are bringing new and innovative ideas, how do they get their foot in the door? We were turned away by a lot of banks because we were a startup and because we didn't have proof of concept. Mobile food is a great way to show proof of concept. It's a great way to build a community and a following. It's a great way to boost all of these things that you need in order to go and get a bank to trust you with money. Also, these innovations and younger entrepreneurs bringing attention and press to Oxford. I put in a clip. We were featured from the work that we've been doing with the Push Cart in Durham. We were featured in the Charlotte Observer. And then in August, we'll be featured in Durham Magazine as well. They came up to Oxford during quitting time to take photos of our hot dogs. So like, people are talking about us, and we would like to be in Oxford, and having people talk about us in Oxford, so that we bring more eyes and more tourism to the space. So things to consider. Okay. I believe that having more prominent mobile food is going to encourage growth through healthy competition. If I offer a really good hot dog and it's on someone else's menu, I mean, that's going to encourage them to consider what they use, the ingredients, how they're offering, what makes them want to improve. If we think about coffee, for example, in town, Strong Arm for the longest time had coffee and breakfast on lock. Now we have Moss and Ivy, we've had She Chose Down and Angel Wings Bookstore. We have all these people coming, and I know personally from talking with them that Strong Arm said to sit down and say, we need to reevaluate our coffee program. We need to make sure that we're providing the best service to our customers so that they keep coming to us. That's positive. That keeps us growing and keeps us providing quality to our citizens. And I think that more prominent access to mobile food improves diversity and accessibility. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times our mobile food can come in at a lower cost. It hits a different market than the people that are coming to me for a $6 hot dog at lunch are not the same people spending $40 at Strong Arm for lunch. So I think it allows us to have a little more diversity in our business owners, the types of food that we offer. Okay. Are there causes for concern? Absolutely. Regulatory and zoning concerns can definitely be a thing. Creating clear regulations and guidelines takes additional enforcement. The proposal that I'm giving to you does mean that there's additional work on the city to be able to monitor the permit that I'm proposing. Do we have resistance from residents and other business owners? At this time, most of the people I've spoken to are in favor and have had some expressed concern from other businesses that we've sat down and had really productive conversations on how do we find a middle ground where people feel more comfortable. Traffic and congestion is a huge concern. How do we keep the streets safe? We were just talking about that with parking and with people following signs. The ordinance that I'm proposing actually enforces more restrictions around where mobile food can be than were currently explicitly stated. So I've added in more explicit rules around how far we need to be from hydrants, how far you need to be from sidewalk openings, and how to keep that so that we are able to fall in line with the expectations we already have set forth for our brick and mortar businesses. So that should help neutralize any safety hazards that would be anything beyond what is there we're already considering for our brick and mortars who are using sidewalk space. Okay. Competition with traditional restaurants, we've kind of spoken about, but additionally, this ordinance is maintaining the 100-foot buffer from the entrance to an existing restaurant. Considering the number of establishments, and that the way that it's currently written and the way I've maintained it is 100-foot buffer from an existing restaurant during its hours of operation. Considering the number of establishments opened at any one time, I'm not sure that that's going to be our largest problem, and it also, but it still does give places the ability to say, that's too close to my business, and to say no, in which case the answer
there's no, they either find another spot or accept that that's potential for overcrowding based on the additional regulations that I've written out in how many, like the distance from one mobile food vendor to another, the distance from one restaurant to another, makes it really difficult. At max, I think you could get like two mobile food vendors on Main Street at a time. So from my perspective, I don't think overcrowding is really the biggest concern for us. And it's handled through those additional regulations. Okay. I wanted to present 2 case studies. Lots of people are very concerned that mobile food is going to take away from downtown and people aren't going to invest, that mobile food just gets up and leaves at the end of the day, but you have 2 prime examples of mobile food that have actually invested back in downtown. Mossy Ivy started out as a food truck. They still maintain their trailer, and they've also opened on the Flanagan Street. And then the Sanctum Coffee and Wine, we opened the push cart to help us fund construction. So we have directly used everything that we've built with our mobile food to help reinvest in our downtown. So this is a brief overview of the things that you've been presented. I updated and expanded the UDO definitions and replaced terminology where there was a need for better consistency. There was a concern presented at the planning board, so the asterisk that you see on, it'll come up on the next slide, is my suggestion for how to work around the concern that push carts are going to overrun the city, and it's going to be selling everything from toys to cotton candy to lightsabers to, I mean, I got asked lots of different things were going to be sold on these push carts, which I don't think is true. We can talk about it again, but that's why that asterisk is there. It was not in the ordinance that you received to review because that came from the planning board, and I didn't want to change what was given because I didn't want to mess with their recommendations. I've updated the permitted use table within the UDO and added a section for mobile food units to the standards for temporary uses. Okay. So something that wasn't in your packet that you received but that you could add would be the red, regulated by the NC Health Department. A push cart in North Carolina that is regulated by the North Carolina Health Department can only serve hot dogs from cooked to order. We can also sell like chips and other things that are prepackaged, but that's the only thing that can be cooked to order. So I think someone was saying like, well, what if you just start cooking breakfast sandwiches? We're not allowed. We tried. We're not allowed to do it. Literally, it's only hot dogs or prepackaged things. So if you add that regulated by the North Carolina Health Department, then that eliminates other categories such as like foot peddlers, which would be your like pushing like toy carts and things like that. So there was some concern around a push cart versus a foot peddler versus a different kind of vendor. This was the simplest way that I could think to address that without opening the whole can of worms of flower peddlers and toy peddlers. So that's just a suggestion. Okay. So just to highlight from the standards that I've suggested, I'm recommending that we explicitly state mobile food can be operated on public and private property. I would like for it to explicitly state that the use of public property would require a mobile food temporary use permit. And it's expanded hours of expanded operation requirements to include guidelines on setup, location, spacing from restaurants, etc. Okay. Just to review again, the distance from restaurants, at least 100 feet from the front entrance of an operating restaurant during its hours of operation, with the exception that the owner supports the proximity. So if I wanted to be a few doors down from Strongbar, I could go and ask them, and if they said that's fine, they would write a letter that would go with me when I present to the cart. And that would be the way that we would be able to operate closer to 100 feet from someone like that. So this is something that I have added, the location and spacing requirements. If you were to approve this, push carts on a public sidewalk would have to abide by the clear sidewalk zone outlined in the UDO section 537B. And I've added in there, we would need to be at least 100 feet from any other permitted mobile food vendor, with the exception of being on private property or when participating in a special event. At least 50 feet away from a driveway or entrance to trees or fire, 10 feet away from a fire hydrant or any fire department connection, and 5 feet away from a driveway or sidewalk entrance, etc. So all of those things to take into place are like safety for not just the vendors, but also for the community and the customers that we're trying to attract. That is the amendment that I have proposed. In that, there are lots of other things. If you approve that amendment, there are several things that I would suggest that you consider and implement to make sure that it is cohesive and consistent across all boards. So when I present this amendment supporting suggestions, that's what this is to hopefully relieve some work that would need to be done on your end, the city's end, should you approve it. So I would suggest updating the UDO on pages 50 and 51, removing the 90-day duration limit for mobile food on private property. I think having that there as it is currently adds more work to the planning director if every 90 days it's being renewed if I want to pop up on a place that come before. So that's one suggestion that I have. I modeled the a separate ordinance that I've submitted to you that was modeled after 18-18 outdoor display and sale of merchandise on sidewalks. If you adopted an ordinance like this, it would make the amendment policeable. So then we could, it kind of follows what we're allowing our retail stores if they're going to take up sidewalk space. This kind of allows us to be able to go in and police that a little more. It also has an additional language component that helps the city and the planning director to be able to deny a permit. So if it is not in the best interest of public or safety, those are written in there as well. Okay. And then the last thing that I was suggesting is to change your temporary use permit. I have submitted and attempted to get onto public sidewalk through temporary use permit and was denied, and it didn't really feel super set up to mobile food. So I have updated it here. And on the next slide, you can see where I've expanded on really the need to work collaboratively with our brick and mortar so that it's not just the push carts popping up in front of any business that it wants to at any time. I'm going to go to the next slide. I've added to the application for our vendors to provide information on what the purpose of the temporary use is, explicitly how are you working with brick and mortar. So for example, if I wanted to work with Oxford Music for their grand opening, I could state, I've been invited by Oxford Music to support their grand opening. I'm working with them in the following ways and explain how we're collaborating on marketing, etc. Describing the setup and referencing, I left the blank ordinance because I wasn't entirely sure like how all of those pieces would fall, but as the ordinance numbers were approved, you could fill in that blank. So referencing and sending people back to the UDO and city ordinances to make sure that they have a clear understanding of set of restrictions. And then attach the written permission. The following maps are meant to be suggestions. I don't know that these got sent to you either. I'll go back and double check and send them also. But they're just to show basically that we can't really fill the streets. All right, we will go forward. I did a quick sketch. This is the easiest way for my brain to make sense. So you'll see some like possible parallel spots, which again, there may or may not be safety concerns that we could talk about and that I may not have considered. So this is not me saying, please adopt all of the spots that are coming up. This is just a suggestion. You'll go to the next one. I've added in possible parallel spots, possible sidewalk spots that wouldn't need any approval from a restaurant, and then there are some that would be functional if the restaurant's approved them. But I have pictures of where all these places are. So one example would be Bliss Nutrition, has a space and is 100 feet away from Strong Arm Bakery. This was a questionable one, so again, it would be up to the city to determine safety. A parallel spot on Little John Street. If you were to consider putting a food truck or a push cart in that parallel spot and have our customers approach from the sidewalk, that's one way to work it. I think when we're looking at safety, some people were concerned about us using spots on like the main drag of Main Street. But if you consider how are the trucks going to pull in, where's the customer going to access the window to order, there's a lot of reasons to say don't put them in those spots, like directly in front of Strong Arm or directly in front of Bliss. In a parking spot, it's a safety concern, but a parallel spot, depending on where it's located, could be a possibility if the sidewalk is wide enough and we're able to direct customers to that window. So it's a suggestion. I'm not saying that this is the perfect space, but it's a potential. I had flagged outside of City Hall, although there were lots of comments made in planning that I had not considered, such as who owns that property. So City Hall, or not City Hall, sorry, the courthouse. So the courthouse is owned by the county. That might take that out of it, right? Because I can't come to Cheryl and ask for a ruling over something that she doesn't have jurisdiction over that parking lot or that parking space. But it's another example of how if there was a parallel spot, that would be a very easily accessible place for people to pick up food and go. It may not be the safest, but they get it. So this is outside of the hub on the Williamsboro side. There is a fire hydrant there. Someone in planning pointed that out. I would like to point out that that fire hydrant is more than 5 feet away from that parking space. So it just happens to be in the frame. But both of those, that's a very large, wide sidewalk. It's a very easy way that a mobile food vendor could, and it's also been considered in the past as a potential spot for food trucks to sit and allow people to get food and continue on. It's also in front of the hub. It's a really wide parking or a really wide sidewalk in there. It would be very easy to, so for example, our push cart, when we have the space, we take up a 10 by 10 tent. When we don't have the space, we don't bring the whole giant tent. We bring a small umbrella that goes over our push cart. It takes up a significantly less amount of space and still maintains 5 feet of distance. So when we say in our application, describe your setup, that's key to helping us make sure that if you are on a sidewalk, that you are maintaining safety and considering how much space your setup takes. Outside of Ace Hardware, along that entire strip, there is no restaurant and a very large amount of sidewalk space. I did put Uptown as a potential. In the past, I've talked with Shanita, and she's commented that she's considered mobile food as a way to support getting food to the city when they're closed. And so I know that in the past she's been open to that, and I thought that's a great suggestion. Again, a wide sidewalk and the place is easily accessible if someone were to parallel park and then serve onto the sidewalk. Okay. Outside of Yoga for Good and what is going to be Tiny Tumblers, Tiny Tumblers reached out to me and Ray personally to ask if we could set up food and support their birthday parties and events. I said TBD, but there's no restaurant that kind of conflicts with that 100-foot rule outside of that, and it is a wide sidewalk. Okay. So those are just really brief ones. I can send those maps or that picture again. I put a couple of snippets of support and then have already emailed you the additional letters of support. We did send out a petition and had 266 people signed in support, and they put in their comments and what they'd like to see from our town. So I think the consensus seems to me that more people than not would like to see more choices, more access, and more reasons to walk downtown and get out of their cars.
Thank you very much, Ms. Osmond. Before we move into the question, will Mrs. Hart, would you like to say anything, address anything with us?
I'll just go over the planning board's position. They did make a recommendation.
Thank you.
So, they did review this, May the 19th, and you saw a lot of the slides. And I think that, during the discussion, there were concerns regarding, the ability to allow 10 by 10, tents, to allow signage, push carts to allow possibly an additional table, no larger than 3 by 6. So they also pointed out that when the mobile food vendor ordinance was amended 2 years ago, there was support from the, I think it's called Dory Downtown Restaurant Incorporated, and they did not submit a letter of support for this proposal. We did receive a letter only from one property owner in opposition of the amendment. So with that, the planning board's recommendation that the proposal be denied as what was presented to them.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hart. At this time, we will accept comment from the phone. We still on. Okay. Would anyone to my right would like to speak in this public hearing? Mr. Davis.
I'm Russell again, 311 Pine Tree Road. I have been in support of downtown restaurants and since I moved here. And since Ray and Anna have brought their culinary desire to start Sanctum, and through that process they've created the food cart with the hot dogs to support that. It's been great to see the creation of food that they've created and what they could possibly create, getting a little bit of a wider breadth to use the downtown spaces. You can go to many other cities. Durham has a food truck rodeo that brings in a lot of people. I mean, you should see some of those events. Downtown Raleigh as well. And our neighbors over in Person County in Roxborough, in their downtown space, they've made a lot of changes regarding food trucks, and it's brought a lot of commerce into that area. To the point where, I mean, they have food trucks booked out for months. People are trying to get in there to sell their food in that community. Mobile food units don't always get a good name. I know that some people have definitely poked fun at taco trucks over the years. It's not something that some people look at in high regard, but if you look at the new Two Heckers truck, if you walk into that truck, you'll see how well maintained those areas can be, and that's up to the individual owners to make sure that they're doing that. And you can see very clearly that we've got Taco Bell Caro. They've been over to Tobacco tonight. We've got the Two Heifers, and also Snacks On The Go. And there's multiple others that are in the mobile food industry. Maybe looking into that and kind of opening up those avenues for those people to present their food in a little bit more of an open manner. I just see these people working really hard. They are my friends and they are community neighbors, and they work really hard to put put these things together. It's not easy to run a restaurant, and it's even harder to run one from a truck. So that being said, I wish you guys the best of luck with Push Cart, and just consider, you know, the economic and you know, the economic ability for people to create these smaller effects than just in a brick and mortar can open up some really fun avenues for the community, and you know, supporting that would be a good idea in my opinion. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Hey, if there's anyone in the center of the room would like to get up and speak.
Hey, I'm Ray Williams, through Williamsboro Street and 129 West Grove Street. Just wanted to say for the record that Dory Downtown Restaurant Initiative is not really a real organization. It's a group of restaurant owners that have come together to put on pudding time. That's all it is. They have no bylaws, they have nothing. They're working on establishing that, but as of now, they can't even get it together. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the middle row?
Hi, I'm Kate Kelly, 711 College Street. As a newer resident to Oxford, I love a food truck, I love a push cart, I love a hot dog. I think we need a lot more businesses that sell food on Saturdays and Sundays. I remember a certain mayor mentioning a couple of months ago in a meeting that we needed more options of food on the weekend. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to be able to get something like that. I'm Elaine.
Hi, Cassie Blizzard, 129 West Front Street. I just want to flag that it was really nice to see the task force that helped with parking, and it seems like that was born out of citizens wanting something to change. So based on what Ms. Houseman provided, it sounds like over 200 citizens are interested in mobile food trucks. So if you have hesitations or concerns, Ms. Houseman has done this all on her own right now. It's all been funded by her. So maybe if we need to explore this more, she could get some help from the city to do this, to support not only that business, but other businesses too.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Squires? Oh, Sandra, you're here.
Sandra Compton, 213 Main Street. I want to point out that while there was one opposing business, there were 4 letters written and over 200 signatures from people around town. I personally collected over 50 signatures myself, and this is just talking with friends and neighbors. Like I said, right here on Main Street, it's something that we really like to see happen. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
I'm Bill Squires, I live at 128 Military Street. These folks, Ray and Cassie, and Dick and Ann, have come from other places to make a stake here, make a home, make a life here. And I think that the city should do everything they possibly can to help them succeed. And I just don't think a push cart selling hot dogs is too much of an ask to let them do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to my left, if anyone would like to speak on behalf of this.
My name is Tina Rea. I live at 414 Broad Street. The one thing I think we need to keep in mind, at the end of the day, the number one business that brought downtown to life was Strong Arm. Let's not forget where they started. They were at a little market, not a push cart, but a very similar thing, a very mobile little vending area. And from that, look at what's happened to Oxford. Okay, I don't think a push cart is really a fit, correct? I think it's good. I think it's a good way to, not everybody wants to come to downtown and sit down at a restaurant. I might want to walk downtown and get some music and get a book or get something here and let me grab something on the street while I'm going, while I continue to walk around. You know, I think this is a good thing. It's not a threat to any of the other restaurants. It's a different clientele. It's a different venue. I think it's a good thing. We need to be a little bit more open here. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anyone else to the left? Do we have anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of this? Okay, with that, public hearing is closed at this time. City business, consider changing the text amendment for mobile food vendors to include push carts. There's a presentation that Mr. Austin did. There's a public support for the proposal, as well as a letter from a restaurant owner asking an amendment be presented, as presented, be denied. The planning board did recommend that a proposal be denied. Is there a motion?
I got some questions.
No. Well, we're going to the motion, and we're going to second.
Go after the questions.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Tobin.
And it's from a logistical point of view. Looking at your presentation, and I like a good hot dog, as anybody else. We spoke about parking earlier, and from what I gather, you're proposing taking away one or maybe two parking spaces. That's a concern. The sidewalks are, the UDO at present, you have to have a 5-foot clearance, so I think sidewalks are out. But what we didn't see was the dimensions of the actual car. And taking away parking spaces, that could be a big thing, especially as we were talking about that earlier on. We haven't got enough, and now we want to take more away. So that's a concern. That's a concern.
Was that a question that you wanted me to respond to, or was that just?
I mean, for a start, what is the size of this push cart? I mean, what are the dimensions of this push cart?
Sure. So, off the top of my brain, I probably remember better than because I don't have a head for numbers, our dimensions of the push cart. But I do know that you have to consider how wide it is, and then if you need additional space on either side to operate within clearance. I measured, and I believe we need so when we went to our last pop-up in Durham, we measured how far we were from the building, how much space our cart took up, and then anything else that we needed on the side, and we ended up needing about 6 feet. Our cart is on the larger side. However, when you submit an application and pay your mobile vendor fee to the city, you have to submit your dimensions. I don't mention specific dimensions because a push cart can be a lot narrower and a push cart can be a lot wider. And so in taking all of this into consideration, you have to look at, and I'm sure when I propose an ordinance, it's open in that it's possible, and then you have to fit within the restrictions within the space, and that's in part why you need to explain your setup, your measurements, how much space you need. So for us, we might be more limited in some of our places in downtown where we can be on a sidewalk. The hub is super comfortable for us because of this breadth of that sidewalk. And most of the, if not all the places that I've proposed in there, I've measured and there is that clearance. So if we were to move forward with this, Ray and I might consider investing in a specific push cart just for sidewalks that's narrower than what we might take to a big festival. When we're cooking at a bigger event, we don't want to be on a little tiny thing because we're turning out like over 100 hot dogs in a real fast amount of time. But lunch in Oxford is a little bit slower. We can go with a smaller space. So all of those things have to be considered, and they're already considered, and you already have to outline them when you apply for your permit to operate in Granville County. And then it would be within the mobile food, the temporary use, you'd have to outline it there. And if that was too wide, then that's the grounds for denial. And then it would be that. I hear the concern for taking away a parking space.
Well, the dimensions you're talking about, as far as what I'm envision, a 10 by 10 tent with maybe a table, it's going to take more than one parking space.
Well, but yes. And so if I'm set up in a parking lot where I have space, I'm going to use the 10 by 10, right? Because I have the space. So the way that the ordinance is written, it says you can have up to a 10 by 10 space. You can have up to this amount of table space. You can have up to this amount of additional coolers for food storage. It doesn't say you only have this, you have up to. So then that gives you the leeway, and it means too that I haven't written this just for my one car.
Oh, no, I noticed that. I mean, I'm reading the proposed
Sure.
ordinance now, and it's just concerning to me that the amount of parking spaces that would be, probably 2 parking spaces.
Okay.
When we were talking earlier about lack of parking.
Yes.
That's
But
a
we're
concern.
gonna bring people to downtown to eat where on Saturday it's strong arm or Bear Green or nothing. So we're gonna have all these parking spaces for people to be and shop, but what are they gonna eat? I mean, I've stood at strong arm and watched numerous people go pop their head and go, oh no, because the line's out the door and walk on. We're missing opportunities to capture people and keep them here longer. So it does require and it has the potential to use a parking space, but the number of people that are realistically going to apply for this permit and be approved and be on the sidewalk, it's not, I don't believe that it's going to be constant for every day. So, sure.
Is there any question from Mrs. Austin?
Now,
Before we move on?
I heard, Mrs. Hart, you stated that some of the concerns was, they was also, I heard the thing about the 10 by 10 with the tent, but also wanting like a bench, stuff like that. Is that one of the things that you named?
I don't think I said anything about a bench. I think it offered for a table.
Oh, table.
I think she mentioned she would use a umbrella. And I know during the discussion for the planning board, one of our planning board members mentioned having attended the Culture Fest and kind of ride around on the motorized scooter. He was concerned with the mobility challenges that his mate posed.
I guess my concern is the same as Commissioner Tovey. When you're starting to add tents and tables, and you know, the space kind of gets bigger than what everybody expect it to be. And I guess another concern that I also have is that you got Humble Pour that's in the process of opening up, and one of their aims is to open up and provide their parking lot for mobile food vendors to come and park, and you named a spot on Little John Street, a spot in front of the courthouse, a spot on the side of the hub, and I think the other spot was across the road. So I mean, if Humble Pour opens up and they got 4 or 5 food trucks over there, plus your 4 that you named, you know, the 4 spots, I mean, you're easily looking at
eight, vendors, surrounding other brick and mortars, and and so that's just kind of I'm just balancing the scale, because right now we're looking at the simple fact that Humble Pour isn't open and what we have now, but and that was one of the concepts that they talked about, why they wanted to open that business, to bring mobile food vendors and give them a location in downtown. And I think with this, it's going to take away from the foundation of what that was based on. So, I mean,
Brian Kahn is one of the owners of the Humble Pour and wrote a letter in support of what we proposed. I don't know that he's super concerned about what we're proposing taking away from his establishment. His establishment also serves alcohol, which we can't serve. So it's a different.
Yeah,
so I mean, there's a little bit of a difference. And additionally, the spots that I've proposed and sent, those are possibilities. Most of those possibilities are options for push carts. So I'm just not sure that easily we're gonna get to the point that we are like New York, where we have multiple hot dog vendors on requesting temporary use permits. Additionally, every time that you apply for a temporary use permit, you pay a fee. So it's not like we're just saying, like, come set up. Like, you're gonna have to go through a permit process. It's usually good for a day, and you pay a fee. So there's all these additional things, and it's not just like you pop up and then you go. So you have to consider, and what we have to do is consider where are we going, how much does it cost us to go and get there, how much foot traffic are we gonna reasonably have. Is it possible that we have more hot dog vendors at some point? Sure. But if we have someone who's already applied and presented a permit for a particular day, the city continues to have space to say, like, realistically, if we can only support X amount in the downtown for public safety, then sorry, that's a safety concern, and it's a grounds for denial on that. There's a lot of wiggle room for that.
And I guess just to look at it from a different perspective, you said you got a letter of support from Brian Kahn, being one of the owners of Humble Pour. Brian Kahn and Jay, they gonna be more in the beer business. So they're not really in the food business. They're gonna be in the beer and rental spot business. So I guess it won't really hurt their pockets, but everybody else who's around them, that do have restaurants, it might hurt their pockets, because I mean, the idea of the Humble Pour, to me, I thought it was a good idea. Okay, we get everybody, we station. It's in the downtown area. Everybody's in this one spot, and you could just go there when you want some, some from a food truck, and then from his perspective, from what he told me was that they were going to rotate. So it's not going to be the same food trucks. But I just like the new restaurant that just opened in Mazatlan. I hate to be that owner. It just opened up this restaurant. Now Humble Pour opens up, and they got 5 food trucks right there. And then there's one in front of the courthouse, and then there's another one. So
I think you're speaking to competition, which right now there's minimal.
Yeah, but there's competition, and then there's monopoly. So, but when you start bringing in so many food trucks, and you got one that got 6 food trucks here, and then you got some parked in every corner.
When I present you with a different perspective, you've spoken about the impact that you're worried would happen to restaurants. I'd like to speak for a minute on what might happen to other So this is not, I can give you an example from what we've done in Durham, and it is with a bar. So that's a little bit different. But when we brought our push cart down to Durham to a wine bar called Delafia. It's just about to hit its 1-year mark. Every time that we go, they do their best sales and top it. So the first time we went was their best night sales to date. When we came back the next time, we had people like coming early and asking when we were going to be there, and they spent more money in that establishment and they topped their best night. And the last time that we were there, they did their best night of the entire year. And it's our best service too. And a local example would be last year's quitting time. We popped up and gave away 3 bites that we had pre-prepared at C-Square. And I met with Kathy and said, would you partner with me? Would you stay open a little bit later than maybe you normally do? When we were there, we brought in enough business that justified her being open for a later hour and brought more money into her store. And I had at least 5 people on just one night alone talk to me and say, I have never been into this store. I always want to go and I can never get here, and I'm so glad I'm here, and have walked out with things. So I hear what we're concerned with, what might or might not happen to restaurants, but there is a different clientele that's going to go and grab a hot dog on a walk versus someone looking to sit down at Angora or sit down at Strong Arm. Again, like the average ticket at Strong Arm is well above the price of what our average ticket is. Me personally, I get a little bougie, and Strong Arm is my treat. Like, I'm going to go and eat my lunch by myself is like $40-something. It's a privilege that I give myself, and I recognize. But our average ticket sale for a hot dog is like under $12. That's a pretty big difference in like what we're spending and where. So it's bringing out a different kind of person. So while the restaurants are going to have competition, think about the number of people that are now on the street walking by Kathy's, walking by C-Squared or Nana's, and they're like, oh, here I am, I'm going to pop in. Or really what the proposal is meant to do is, because you have to be partnered with a small business, it's meant to bring people into those other businesses. I'm not going to be out just because I want to be every night, but when Todd reaches out to me about their 1-year anniversary at the new place, like, I'd like to be able to go and pop up and celebrate that. Like, that's what we're really looking at. And it kind of gets twisted to where people are worried that it's going to be everywhere, but I don't know that I have popped up I think I've popped up in Oxford maybe twice, where I said, hey, would you consider having me? We want to do this thing. Most of the time, it's been, hey, do you need a place to pop up? We'd like to have you here. And even though Strong Arm wrote a letter in opposition, they were also the first people to host us. And I didn't ask for that. Julia and Thomas said, do you need a place to pop up? You can use our back parking lot on days when we're not open. So, like, I hear it, and to the point of Dory and other restaurants having concerns, I've brought it to Dory's attention, to the restaurant, and multiple times I've called special meetings and said, please come and sit with me and review this. Do you have concerns? What do you want to know? Nobody else wrote a letter of opposition. No, they also didn't choose to write letters of support, and I get that, but they're not opposed to the point that they're going to write a letter to say, I'm against it. They were all made aware, and they're not here tonight either. So, and I've made them aware. We talked about it and I reminded people. So at some point, I think we need a little more opportunity, and that kind of competition just pushes us forward.
Mr. Commissioner Bellis, if then we allow Mr. McCray, Commissioner McCray to ask a question.
Yes, and thank you, Aaron. You answered one of the questions, but I did have another one. So in reading what the recommendation that we received, it has a clause on it as presented. So my question to the both of you, are we at an impasse where there are certain things that we can't agree on, that we worked on, where we all know it's give and take. So are we at the point now where that, again, like we're at an impasse where nothing else can be done, or is it still a possibility where communications can be had and whatever those differences are, can be potentially worked out. And it's just a question I just posed to both.
I'm happy. Who would you like to?
I mean, either one. I mean, it's a hypothetical, but then again, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, I mean, if we're at a place where there's, we have no agreement, of course, then, decision has to be. But I feel there's still room where we can talk a little bit more. To, say, well, the court is too big. Okay, well, I can shrink it down. Or, this area is not good. Okay, we'll take this one off. Long story short, again, my question is there still room where negotiations or talks can be held? And, it's going to come to a
Find a middle ground.
agreement.
Yeah. I
mean, be it one way or the other.
So the proposal that you got was, there have been multiple drafts, and the planning board has now heard from me twice. This is not the original proposal. I went back and made multiple changes to my original proposal to meet with the concerns from Strong Arm and from the planning board, and to address those in there. I find it very difficult for me personally, to try and get people to give me feedback and talk with me in a way that's a discussion on like, if this doesn't work, what would you see? The planning board meetings are recorded, and I have that audio if you're interested. Like, it's not a ton of discussion. I'm happy to continue the discussion. I'm happy to continue working towards something that feels good for everybody. I think a lot of the questions and concerns that people have are addressable and are covered by how it's written, because it gives the flex for the city to say, or for the park to say, okay, you asked for a sidewalk spot and you put in a 10-foot fence. That doesn't make sense. And that's the discussion that goes back and forth, where we're saying, oh, that's right, we'll use our umbrella and we won't bring that table because that makes the most sense. That's where I think sometimes it gets lost in the discussion and the application process, and what people present, and then how the city has the ability to come back and say, that doesn't work for that spot. So there is that there. I'm happy to work on that further. My only hesitance is that the last time that I went before the planning board, I had people say they were confused and didn't know what I was presenting, and I had someone say they hadn't read what I presented. And so to have questions and be denied based as written by a group of people that collectively didn't read what I wrote is concerning. So am I willing and open to? Absolutely. But I need that to be a give and take in that.
And I'll be the first to say, I understand a lot of times when, and what may be considered as robust discussion can be perceived one way, and maybe not really be meant to come across that way. But I understand that, and sometimes in certain arenas it can happen. I know you referenced that, and I did have an opportunity to go back and listen to the previous meeting. But again, with all that aside, I think if the primary focus, which I pray that it is for all parties involved, to do what's best for the city, to do what's best for the citizens, then we can lower the temperature a little bit, or what have you, and just come to that conclusion again, whatever it is, because who knows, it may not be in the best interest for the citizens, but again, it may. But again, I firmly believe that concentration and focus should be made on that. And once we get to a point where hey, listen, we've done what we can do on this, and we've done what we can do on this, and it works out, or maybe not this time. Then we need to go on with that.
On our end, we're willing, and even today presented further changes based on feedback from the planning board. So on our end, we're definitely flexible and open to that conversation. It just requires that. I've been told by the planning board that at least one person absolutely would never. So at that point, it seems like this planning board needs to be then decide from there. if one party is open to those discussions. I don't know how we keep that blind open on the other side.
Mrs. Hart, would you like to?
Yes, so I was gonna say to Commissioner Gray, I was glad that to hear you say that because it is opportunity. I think that the second time Ms. Hausman came for the land board, she did bring a little bit of clarity, and so they were kind of buying into her concept, but I can tell you that there were concerns of the on-street parking, how the lines were formed, and, you know, you have people walking, exercising, and, you know, they wanted to make sure that, I think they frown upon the on-street parking. So, I think it's opportunity to make it better and make it more of a win-win for the housing and the city.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you guys both. I know it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Commissioner Bridges?
Free enterprise and competition is good. And, you know, if it makes other restaurants, other businesses adjust things, you know, because of the competition, that doesn't hurt the citizens in this community. And in particular, around the courthouse, the judges give us very short breaks. And I would love to be able to walk out the courtroom door and get a hot dog so that I can go back. You know, I mean, that's what this country was built on. Free enterprise, competition. And, you know, folks that are afraid of that, I don't care.
Thank you, sir. What? Mayor Pro Tem?
My thing is that it depends on whether I'm a hot dog day or it depends on the person, what you want when you come downtown. Am I in a strong arm day or am I in a hot dog day? Variety is good. There are a lot of citizens that utilize downtown Oxford, and you all know it. They can't afford strong arm, but they can afford a hot dog. They can afford a variety of hot dogs, sausage, Polish, all-American, whatever. It's just a matter of people getting together, working out the idiosyncrasies, the differences, continue the dialogue, and it will benefit the city of Oxford with continued dialogue of the concept of what the city is requiring and what you are explaining. Variety.
I got a couple things I picked up out of this. One, Dory is not a really accredited organization right now to voice their opinion and say yes and no, because they're not.
They're working on it.
They're working on it. You're right, Mrs. Hausman. They're working on it, guys. They're not really accredited to do anything, make any decision in the city. Okay. Two, Commissioner Velez talked about Humble Poor, which you're right, they can put 5, 6 food trucks on that lot, and we don't have anything regulating that. That's something, a concern we need to look at, because we can't just ignore the other citizens and the community, because competition is what we need. But if I can put 8 food trucks on my lot, that's gonna kill a lot of things. Another concern I have, in the last weeks, we have mobile vendors, or whatever we call them, on the Armory lot out there, and they just dump their grease and whatever they don't want to take back home, they throw it on that ground. We need to address that. Weekends, I know I walk town obligated every day, but I have to walk my dog and I see it. There's nothing downtown Saturdays and Sundays. It's dead. It's a dead zone. There's opportunity to get something here, guys. We talk about rodeos, and there's opportunity to do things here, bring more life into the city on weekend, because it's dead. There's nobody there. And again, and thing is, my last thing is, and I tried to say it last year, special events. I have my team our team working on getting hot sauce coordinated, and every food truck has to pay to come in the city. But if I have a lot, I can bring 6 food trucks and sit there and not pay nothing. No, I think we need to adjust that, where every food truck, and especially event days, all food trucks have to pay the city to come on board, because that's the event that we right now are wrestling to get sponsors for. And you mentioned it, I can have a food truck rental lot where you can put 6 food trucks and I charge you $300 and I make my money. So I think that this entire package has a problem here. It's completely has a problem. And again, we're affecting business in the city. We're affecting getting people in the city. I love food trucks. I'm not gonna say that. But we need to look at it and totally, I think we need to address it. I think maybe, I'm not sure if it went to the planning committee and planning and development. I'm not sure if it went there, but I think this thing needs to be looked at, because there's a lot of changes need to do, and it needs to be implemented and done correctly. You know, because that's my opinion. I'm not a voter here, but my opinion is we need to work on this entire thing to make it right for the city and put it to bed one time and for all.
Food trucks do have to pay. Food trucks do have to pay this. There's
No. What I'm saying, special event days.
There's a fee for this.
For special event days, you have, let's say hot sauce. You got to pay for that, regardless of not you paid, whatever it is you paid, you got to come pay to participate in that event. We need money. The city is poor. There are people think we have money, so we need money. So when these events come, special events, hot sauce, Veterans Day, Christmas Day, they need to come to our event coordinator, and we need to make sure that's part of the amendment. Because last year we had business owners put food trucks in front of their business. Okay, it's their business, but it's a city event. So maybe I'm talking, yes, I'm crazy, but I think this entire bill needs to be looked at, Nancy.
I would recommend considering that to be how the city handles special events, which is a separate permit to the temporary use. So I don't know that.
It'll fall under food trust one way, special event somewhere there, amendment somewhere.
Yeah, and then safety was a concern that I just wanted to say before I forgot. I already had forgotten it and then recalled it after the planning board brought up concerns about safety, congestion, parking spaces and things like that. I did reach out to our police department and spoke with the police chief about whose responsibility would it be if we were to get a permit approved for a parking space, how would we block that off? How much work would it put on our police force? So I went back and did some extra work. Not presented in the packet you received because I did it after receiving feedback. So again, to show the willingness to try and work and find alternatives and make sure we know where that goes. I did speak with our police department, who seemed to think it would be very easy to for our local food vendors to be able to reach out, have spaces reserved, put up phones where safety is concerned, and to take that into account. Sorry to put that
Ms. Hart.
Commissioner Lumpkins. Oh, Commissioner Brooks.
Ms. Hart, so based on, and like Commissioner McCray, I recognize that as presented, that stood out to me as well. And Ms. Hausman admitted that she gave us we were privy to some information that the planning board wasn't. So me personally, I would like to give you all another pass. It seems that you will be willing to work with her, and she has worked on her presentation as far as addressing some of the concerns that you had. And so it would be my hope that the board could meet with her and you all could hash out your differences. For me personally, I don't know downtown well enough to know where the wider sidewalks are. So that would be my only concern on a tight sidewalk, because when she presented where the record store is, I was thinking, where could she have been right there, that particular space? But then some of the other spaces she showed, I do know those, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's wide enough. You could put a cart there, because when you drive through downtown Durham or downtown Raleigh, you don't see these carts everywhere. but where you see them, there's more than enough space for citizens to walk behind them, or like down at the courthouse. I know I've seen them at the courthouse in Raleigh, at the state building. So again, it would be my hope, and I do believe that you all can come to a consensus between you with what she presented tonight. I think if she presented what she presented tonight to you all, it may change some people's opinions. But I will also encourage us, when it comes to issues like this, we tend to think of the extremities. We always think of the most extreme examples we can think of. And I'll just use an example from the board. When it came to the parking issue with the rest home, Commissioner Bridges and Commissioner Fields presented an alternative to my thinking, which allowed me to change my opinion as far as I wasn't going as hard as I would have. So I encourage you all. I do believe, and I really do in my heart of hearts, that you all can get this taken care of. So I believe in our staff. We have a citizen that's done a lot of legwork, and I applaud you for that. And so from what she's presented, I do believe if she presents that to our board should be able to come up with a good recommendation for the city without us having to be involved. Because I think the only parties that need to be involved are the planning board and our citizens.
Commissioner Lumpkins.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say one thing. Yeah, I mean, I think I can hopefully speak for everybody on this board. I think we do want you guys to succeed. We definitely want the city to be open for business and to encourage people to start businesses and ventures and come into the city and bring people in. So I'm happy to see that there are people that are actively doing that. And you know, I echo what Scotty said. I think there is some room, and I think we're close. And I think I'm not sure exactly what the next step should be. You know, but whatever it is, I'd like it to be done as quickly as possible. And so I guess, I mean, would we propose to send it to one of our committees, maybe to city staff, to sit down and maybe come up with a version of this proposed amendment that would maybe take into account some of the concerns? So I'd like to hear some feedback from everybody on what next steps are.
My opinion would be conversation, clarification and conversation.
Commissioner Toby.
I've got one more question for Ms. Hausman. Just to clarify, in my own mind, when it says mobile, are you looking for one spot that you would be there daily, or are you looking to move around? Because I think if it's just maybe one spot outside the courthouse or something, for Commissioner Bridges' benefit.
I'm looking for and asking to have the ability to move around where I have asked, where brick and mortars have invited me, where I have developed a partnership with the community. My initial presentation to the planning board did have designated spots, and the planning board did not feel like the city and the planning department had the infrastructure in place to handle scheduling permits, however that may be. I think there's a lot of different alternatives to that, but the planning board made that very clear. So when I came back, I removed those, even though I think they make a lot of sense and would take away a lot of headache in some respects. It just comes down to a determination of where does the city want to put infrastructure in place to make it possible is what it comes down to in my mind.
Okay, that clarifies that.
Ms. Hausman, your food cart, do you have where you have different sizes depending upon your location on that particular day, or you just got one size?
The cart that we own currently is the one.
Okay.
Place. I have the ability to, and we would consider, as our goal is to grow the push cart, especially once we're open with our brick and mortar and that's settled. Our end goal would be to be able to have two, to have a sidewalk appropriate push cart, and then we use our other one as our bigger special event festival setup.
Thank you.
Right now, it doesn't make sense for us to invest in that.
Thank you.
May I say that? Thank you, Ms. Osman. This model is Mrs. Osman who's presenting this. It's not only restricted her food cart, because once we do this, it's open. Okay, so I just want to let you know that. So,
I would.
And, you know, just to clarify, it's not that I'm against any food trucks or anything like that, because I mean, I buy from food trucks all the time. I just want to make sure that when it's done right, and we're not coming back and revisiting all this stuff and saying where it should have been done this way or this way. The planning board has some concerns, and now we got to go back. So I agree with Scotty when he said when we look at everything, when we look at stuff, we look at the most extreme part of it, or what could be the worst thing that can happen, and like Commissioner McRae said, it does, you have worked very hard on it. I mean, you've done a lot of leg room, but we want to make sure that they address their concerns, you address your concerns, and we find the middle ground. And when it's done right, and it's done organized and not sloppy, and so that's just my concerns.
I just have one recommendation to the staff, in that leave some wiggle room, some flexibility, because one thing that does happen, variables change. So the decisions we make today, 5 years from now may not work.
Yeah.
So I would say just leave some room for flexibility. And since the city has been doing things, I've been going to the farmer's market, I thought about it. I was like, okay, the Armory would be a great place for a food truck rodeo. As far as the grounds, how it's set up. When you go to other places and you see, like, it would be perfect for, you could do a little rodeo down there. But that's one of the spots that when this came up and I was thinking about this issue, I was like, okay, that's one place, one piece of real estate that we own that we could possibly utilize for something like this. So thank you again for your time and your effort and putting this at the forefront, because this is going to be an issue, whether we like it or not. So it's better to deal with it now than push it down the road anymore. And I'm with Commissioner Lumpkins. We need to get this one resolved and tied up as quickly as possible. So again, Ms. Hart, I pray that our staff will be able to work with Ms. Housman and you all can get this done in a timely manner.
We need a recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I think that what you would need to give some direction. Do you want to send it back to the planning board? Do you want to send it to staff? Assuming you're not ready to approve it tonight or with this.
Mr. Lumpkins.
I mean, I at this point, I'd rather not go back to the planning board. I'd rather try to get something concrete here. Whether that's appropriate or not, it's up for discussion. So
I think Mrs. Hart knows her planning board very well, and I think it needs to be a situation where Anna's team and Cheryl Hart's team get together and work out the kinks before it goes back to the planning board. So then when it goes back to the planning board, it's all the kinks has been worked out of it, and it's not a back and forth thing.
When you say Cheryl's team, who are you speaking of?
Well,
I'm assuming he's talking about
Board.
The planning, but then that's your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a planning board, and we have a planning business and
development
community
committee.
I think That's where it needs to go.
That's where it needs to go.
It needs to go to that committee, get everything worked out, and then send it up. It can either come here or go to the planning board, whatever you want to do, but it needs to go there, and all these little details worked out on that committee, which I think yourself, Commissioner Brooks, and the Mayor Pro Tem, you guys are on that committee. I think that's where it needs to go.
So, Mayor, that being said, I'd like to put a motion on the floor that this be taken to the Planning and Development Committee to work out the issues, and prior to it going back to the Planning Board.
It doesn't have to go back to the planning board. The committee can make a recommendation to the full board.
Full board.
You don't need to go back to the planning board.
And we don't want to keep.
Okay, well, I make a motion that it goes to the Planning and Development Committee, work out the kinks, and then come back to the Board of Commissioners.
Right. And that way we don't keep extending this more than it needs to go. So I think let's go to the motion. We'll have a motion.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? So we're sending it back to the Planning, Business, and Community Development, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is consider filling the vacant seat on the planning board due to our loss to Mr. Royce Washington. There were 2 applications submitted, one by Mr. Pierre Ginch and the other Mrs. Grace Kennedy. We've heard both applicants address the board. Do we want to, can I get a motion, or we want to get a motion for one of the nominees, or so we can go on and get this voting moving?
You need a motion?
Yes, sir.
You
No.
want
Recommendation, right?
recommendation.
For the 2 said names.
I make a recommendation, all right. Let's go with that.
Oh,
You need to, somebody needs to make a motion to appoint one or the other.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah.
Vote on it, and if they win, they win.
That's what we're going to motion. We need a motion and one of the candidates.
I'll make a motion that we accept the application of Mr. Pierre Ginch.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Pierre Ginch is appointed to the planning board. Item 6.3. Consider accepting a sufficient statement from the city clerk. Consider accepting a sufficient statement from the city clerk of petition received from Hunt Family Properties LLC consisting of 409 acres located on Linus Salem Road and Tabbs Creek. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6.4, consider calling for public hearing for the August 19 regular meeting to hear citizen input on annexation request for a Hunt family property consisting of 409 acres on Landis Road, Salem Road, and Tabbs Creek Road. The owners requested annexation in order to receive city services. Staff recommends calling for public hearing for August 19th regular meeting, or as we say, our meeting on the 12th, we have moved to 19. We had fallen into some special period of time, so the meeting's going to be on the 19th.
Motion.
Is there a motion
Motion.
for annexation?
Public hearing.
Public hearing. We're calling for public hearing.
Motion by Seth, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
now, that meeting moved from the 12th
to the 19th.
Okay, we got the 12th in here.
I'm
Right, the
sorry.
first one,
That's all right.
Change it.
That's all right, I got it.
When I read it, I said the 19th.
Yeah, but I mean, somebody that gets it in the public will say,
I'll
Yeah.
put something out.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just protecting our.
Item 6.5, Carl, consider calling for public hearing to assign zoning classification of 49 acres referred as Hunt's Landings Development. Annexation is being considered. Did I just do that? Yes, we just did that. I'm sorry. 6.6, consider accepting this. No?
It's different.
It's different. Okay. Annexation is being considered for this development if the property is annexed as zoning classification is needed. Call for public hearing for August board meeting to consider a zoning classification if the property is annexed. We have a motion.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who did the
Motion carries.
Sorry, I missed it.
Item 6.6, consider accepting a sufficient statement from the city clerk for the petition received from Franklin W. Hancock III. All consisting of 527 acres located in Perry Road, Salem Road, and Orner Siding Road. Staff recommends accepting the certificate of sufficiency.
Motion.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Toby. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner McCray.
You asked me for any discussion?
Any discussion?
I believe that this is the property where I was contacted about there being a burial ground on.
No, not that one.
No, no,
This is not it?
No, no, sir.
Okay.
Well, let me know when we get to it. I will. Oh, we're not here tonight. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We have a motion by Commissioner Toby, we have a second by Commissioner McCray. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6.7. Consider calling for public hearing on August 19th. Regular meetings, receive citizen input on the annexation request by Mr. Hancock. All consist of 527 acres located in Prairie Farm, Salem Road, and Orner Siding Road. The owners are requesting non-contiguous annexation in order to receive city service. Staff recommends calling for public hearing to consider the annexation request. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Bridges. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Call for a public hearing for the August board meeting to recommend a zoning classification for 527 acres, development requesting non-contiguous annexation located on Perry Road, Orner Siding Road, and Salem Road. Petition for annexation was received for the 527 acres farm for residential and commercial property. If the property is annexed, a zoning classification needed for the property. Call for public hearing for the August 19th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Brooks.
Who did?
Scotty.
Motion by Commissioner Brooks. A second by Commissioner Bellis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.9, consider accepting a sufficient statement regarding annexation petition for contiguous annexation received from Southbury Development LLC consisting of 20 acres located on Hillview Street in Outer Loop. Staff recommends accepting the sufficiency statement. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Toby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 610, consider calling for public hearing for the August 19 regular meeting to hear citizens' input on the request of continuous annexation received from Southbury Development LLC consisting of 28 acres located in Hillsborough Street and the Outer Loop. The applicant is requesting annexation in order to receive its service. Staff recommends calling for a public hearing for the August 19 meeting to consider the annexation request.
Motion.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Lumpkins. Do I have a second? Commissioner Burns. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Consent items will be adopted with a single motion, second and vote unless a request from removal from the consent agenda is heard from a council member. Wait, we got one.
Before you get there,
Mr.
can you
Mayor,
do the discussion?
Yeah, the discussion. Cindy, do I got to do a motion right now to put it on for the date for the September meeting?
If you want to, yes, sir.
Put a motion on the floor that we have a public hearing on using the Williamsboro property as
next to Revlon. Across from
Revlon. As an incentive towards affordable housing.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Tobey's second. Any discussion?
And this is for the September.
The September meeting, correct. Mayor Pro Tem, that's what we discussed.
Yes, sir.
Just briefly, I was wondering, the type of housing we're talking about. I mean, are we talking?
Double
wide trailers, are we
I'm happy that, Mrs. Karen McGee came in here with this example because this is kind of like the concept that I was aiming for. Something that we are able to put a little more high density in there, provide more affordable homes for folks in that. And I want people to understand that it's not uncommon for a municipality to use property that's owned by the municipality as an incentive to create affordable housing.
How much property are you talking about? How much land is it?
It's about
City manager.
4 acres.
No, it's like
between 4 and 7.
Yeah.
That's if it's not built up. If the land is built up, if the developer comes in and built the land up, we're looking at roughly maybe anywhere between 8 to 10.
There's a fair amount of wetland there.
I'm sitting here trying to think.
Yeah, there's a lot of work.
In the past, boards, it was a discussion about the wetlands out there and with other businesses trying to come in there. And the reason they couldn't go in there was because of the wetlands and all those issues. And if we had those issues with businesses, developers gonna correct those issues.
When I met with one developer, they came and they spoke with us. They actually had a whole layout how it could have been done with retention ponds in the front, an entry bridge to come into. So they had it all laid out on how they would, but they were aiming more towards houses, which would not have provided as many units. But they literally had a whole drawing on how they could have put retention ponds in the front with a bridge that goes over, and it would have been like a loop of houses with a park in the middle. And they explained to me on how the land can be built up to be buildable.
Just my thoughts, planning, business, community development. I would like this also to go to our committee, maybe a developer bring it to our committee, and our committee bring it to the board with a better understanding before
Well, all due respect, Mayor Pro Temp, it already came to our committee.
Mr. Mitch, well, I
You was there, you voted yes, and so did Scotty.
Me, you, and Scotty had a meeting.
Yeah.
I know I'm getting old, but
You recall that meeting, Mrs. Hauser?
we had a meeting. The three of us.
Yep, and the recommendation was that we send it to the Board of Commissioners to have a public hearing.
My memory back in the past, the city of Oxford had some issues with that land out there. We had some issues with that land, and developers will tell you anything to get in there. What will they leave you after they finish?
And I guess right now, what we're doing right now with this discussion that we're having, we put the wagon before the horse, because the main thing is to see what the people think about it, see if maybe they would agree with it. Then we will reach that point where we would talk with developers, see what can be done, and if something can be done, then we'll move with it. If not, then ain't nothing we could do with it. But the thing is reaching that point.
We
and
is $190,000 plus or $200,000 affordable housing?
Now it is.
Now it is.
With the average,
yes.
With the average price being $300,000.
And Mayor Pro Temp, I believe it could be done. First, it's higher grounds.
You just gotta prove it.
It's higher grounds from neighboring neighborhoods. And living in Florida for many years, I've seen developers go into swamps, clear it out, build it up, and build whole subdivisions.
Now what's happening with all the rain that they getting down there? The ground is sinking. Going back down below.
Well, I was just down there. I ain't seen none of that.
Well, anyway, having been on this board in the past, when we went through discussions about developing that area and companies, the problem was with the issues out there, with the issues. If we can correct those issues, in 15 years from now, these houses out there are not having flood problems and what have you, all well and good.
And it's just, and I guess when you're dealing with corporations, like some of these industries, a lot of these industries, I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of these industries, they don't want a piece of land where they got to come in and build up like a developer. They want something they could just clear and just sit a big warehouse there and concrete around it and just start bringing in trucks. So with them, once you start talking about you got to build up the land to put your warehouse there,
you're gonna have to put some money out there building up some land before you put a house.
I got a question.
City manager, with the developer, the engineers firm that we have right now, is there any way they can look at that and give us a recommendation? Well, what's your take on this, sir?
To be honest with you, right now, you really need to know, you call for a public hearing, find out how they want the land utilized. I mean, you may have something you want to use as a big green space. So I think you really need to get that feedback first.
Okay.
And if you want to go that route with housing, then we can go into more depth.
Okay.
Makes sense. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we have a motion on the table by Commissioner Bellis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, it was already second by Commissioner Toth.
Okay.
Just need a vote.
We already had the discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, consider appointing Jeff Sohn to fill the vacancy on the Historic Preservation Commission.
7-1.
Going too fast, okay. Oh, man. Okay, consent agenda. Consider accepting the May 2025 financial report, which we have on our desk. Everybody should have it. We have a motion.
No, read it. All of that.
All that consent agenda is one vote. It's one vote. Read the rest of it. Just keep reading.
Jesus, it's a long one today. Consider appointing Jeff Jones to fill a vacancy on the Historic Preservation Commission.
7.3, appoint the June 2nd and the 10 board minutes. 7.4, consider appointing Sandra Compton to the Historic Preservation Commission. Now we're done. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Welcome home, Sandra.
While we go around the routine, let's go start with Mr. Wait a minute. Commissioner Bellis.
I just want to say, I'm impressed. You know how everybody came out, expressed their opinions on discussions tonight, and how all of us could pretty much came to an understanding and to some kind of work towards some kind of solution. And I wish every meeting could be like this, but I mean, thank y'all for coming out. Thank you for, giving your feedback and participating, because sometimes we need that feedback. We need people to come talk to us, and I mean, because sometimes we need the community to help us fix the problem. So that's all I got.
Commissioner Lumpkins.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations to Sandra here. It's always good to have good people, knowledgeable people that want to participate and help the city out. So I think y'all also wanted to, I also wanted to encourage people, to, if you didn't get picked this time, to keep coming back. We had, strong candidates for the planning board position. It's my understanding there may be more positions open in the near future. So please keep trying. We need good people in these positions, and I think we've been lucky with the two that we have tonight. So just want to thank everybody. That's all I have.
Commissioner Brooks.
With the stroke of a pen, 18 million children will not have access to food. And we have people who sit on high, and it seems that there's a war on the poor that's going on. And I'm not going to mince words, it's demonic to me for children to not have food, to be starving in America, in a country where there's so much opportunity. Here in North Carolina, there's a $1 trillion industry in RTP. And so we definitely have the money. The money is generated in North Carolina, so none of our children should be starving. There are children in North Carolina who eat at 11 or 12 p.m. for lunch, and then they don't eat again until Monday morning when they go back to school for breakfast. Now, most of us in here, if not all of us, we wouldn't even consider not eating from lunchtime on Friday till 6 or 7 in the morning on Monday. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even sound right saying that. But that is a grim reality for many of our children here in North Carolina. So the question is, Commissioner Brooks, what can we do about it? Well, I'm glad that you asked, because there is something that we all can do about it. There's a program, I was blessed to be on the panel with the mayor to speak, School Meals for All NC. And what that is a program that is going to fight this problem. So one thing that they found is that during they have lunch period, and there's a period where all the quote unquote poor kids eat, the reduced lunch and free lunch. Well, they found only 40% of the kids ate during that period. Why? Because they don't want to be shamed. And if you can fight hunger, if your pride is stronger than hunger, that's a thing. But all of us, who wants to be shamed when they eat? And that's a basic human right. So the idea is if all the school meals are free, nobody feels shame. Nobody feels poor because we're all eating at the same time and there's no stigma placed on you eating at a particular time. So real quick, School Meals for All NC is a statewide coalition co-led by North Carolina Alliance for Health and the Center for Black Health and Equity, along with A Better Chance, A Better Community, and Carolina Hunger Initiative. The SMFANC mission is to ensure that every child in every public school in North Carolina has access to breakfast and lunch in school at no cost to their families. The coalition is comprised of nearly 200 organizations and more than 3,000 individuals who support student access at no-cost school meals. Providing no-cost school meals to all students improves student outcomes and helps North Carolina build strong, resilient communities. Currently, 9 states have permanently implemented school meals for all policies, offering a no-cost breakfast and lunch to all students, regardless of household income. They include California, Maine, Colorado, Minnesota, New Mexico, Vermont, Michigan, Massachusetts, and New York. Recently, Arkansas has passed school breakfast legislation, not including no-cost lunch. My appeal is let North Carolina be number 10. Thank you.
Commissioner McCray.
As always, I thank everyone for sacrificing your time coming and spending with us this evening. Even those that may be watching online. Sandra Pierre, congratulations. We're definitely looking forward to you and bringing your skill set and what you and making Oxford better. And I'll end with this. Tonight was good enough, and because we were able to have a discussion. And I think the more that we are allowed to do that, the more opportunities we have to have those discussions, the better off we'll be. So again, thank you all, and just always keep in mind, especially in this arena, whatever discussions that we have to set aside our personalities and our personal feelings and do what's best for the city. So again, I would just again implore and ask that as we go forward, that's exactly what we do. Again, thank you guys. Everybody be safe from home. God bless you all.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Toby.
Congratulations, Sandra. Yeah, you're a welcome addition to the infrastructure of what makes Oxford. And I want to answer Commissioner Brooks. I agree with him, but there are organizations in Granville County that are doing their very best. And it's thanks to people like you out there that places like ACIM can exist and feed the kids because they need it. A good discussion tonight. We've obviously upset someone, but we made some others happy, and that's what we do. You can't make everybody happy all the time, unfortunately. But we sign up for that, don't we, guys, ladies? When we do this. So again, thank you. Great discussion tonight, and I'm proud to be part of this board. I really am. We can't always make everybody happy, though.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bridges.
We make everybody happy.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that Reese's does.
That was a great icebreaker.
Too much candy. Too much candy.
I'm gonna tell on.
Speaking of what Commissioner Brooks was saying about food, this past weekend, I went down to the farmer's market because the mayor asked me if I would be there in his place to be one of the judges for the cook-off by 3 students. Food was delicious. I talked to several farmers who talked about trying to help in our community in terms of providing food, healthy foods for this community. And I spent some money, but I got a lot of vegetables and fruits for a very small amount of money. And I was certainly proud to see the variety relative to the farmers. There was a Hispanic farmer there who was a very young man. There were black farmers there, white farmers, and I made it my task to go to each one and get something. And I did not realize, I believe that the director of ACIM was there, and I spoke with her for a while. And, she was telling me some of the things she was doing, and, there's a lot going on here to help feed people. A lot of services available right here in Oxford that's feeding some of our homeless folks. It just made me feel good to see all the positive things that are happening. And so I appreciate it, Mayor, that you gave me that opportunity, because I enjoyed myself.
I saw the photos.
You did?
Oh, I did.
No.
And are you cooking dinner for us? Are you providing dinner, Commissioner Bridges?
Don't cook for us. Tonight has been an outstanding night, and as I said, conversation and communication opens a lot of doors. So we got to keep that going. Mr. Manager, I got a citizen called me from Green Street, said that they've been trying to reach someone at Public Works. Their drainage pipes are clogged up, but they can't get an answer when they call Public Works. So I told them that I would relay that to you so that you, oh God, you would ask that. I can get it for you. I can get it for you tomorrow. You made me drop my train of thought. Oh, the fruit, fresh fruit, farmer's market. One thing we have to remember, we've got a lot of young parents. And if you're ever in the grocery store and you look at what they're buying, so what I'm saying is we've got to teach not only to provide nourishment for the children, but we've also got to go back and teach some of the parents what good food really is. So it's a whole process, not just feeding the child, and I'm with you for feeding them at school, but it's teaching young parents what really is good food. And that's it.
That's how I got.
Oh, and congratulations to you too.
Congratulations, Sandra.
Sandra, Pierre, congratulations.
Congratulations going around to everybody. So that's good. I want to thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. Seemed like he was mad because you was left out.
Let's go.
And thank you.
I want to say, I really got to say to our city clerk that when Pastor Cabral came up, he was, I think he's the first Hispanic pastor here, and he went to the city clerk and asked to get on board. And obviously, senior leader, myself and Carlos will translate, but you brought him on board, and I think that shows how diverse and all inclusive this city is. Something will never happen in the past. Yeah, okay. On the other hand, I beat John Toby. I went to Angora Restaurant last night. I walked in when they were closing. Excellent Mediterranean Thai food. They're gonna be open on Sundays too, so that's a big thing for the city. So any of you guys, you gotta go check that restaurant. It's nice, real nice people.
Yeah, because I'm hungry right now.
I think they're closed already.
Yeah, so that means I gotta go to cookout.
And then we have this Angora. They're pretty good. And the thing that's bugging the city for the last 2 months, 3 months, the homeless situation. We heard Mr.
Marrow.
Marrow, I call him Bo. Mr. Marrow come up. And that's the same thing. Me and the city manager experienced it. We have had to get people to go clean up the benches. They're leaving bags and bags of stuff, like they go in the trash cans and pack everything and sleep there. It's just becoming a problem. And it's not just a problem that the city can handle. it's going to have to be a joint venture between the city and the county to get this thing resolved. Because I've been where the police chief sent people down there and the guys don't want to go and they have all these issues. This needs to be addressed because it's starting to affect the community. And the guys have mental issues. We understand that. They have a lot of problems. But when it starts affecting the community, it starts affecting businesses, because there's one girl that goes into business and wouldn't leave. I had to go down there one day and talk to her and say, can you please leave? They want you out. But, it's kind of hard. And that's something we need to work on in this community. I know Pastor Stallsmith from the Methodist is working on a group, but we need to address that as a board. And we need to make it a priority, because if we let it get out of hands, we're going to be in big trouble. Because the same guy, I seen one guy down in Creedmoor, Buckner, 191. The next thing I know, he's camping out in Oxford. Seems like they just point arrows at Oxford. Okay. So again, thank you all. I know the city manager has worked hard on the budget and a couple other things we got going on. I just want to say thank you to everyone for what you're doing. And with that, do I have a motion to?
Hold up. You didn't ask the city manager, did he have anything?
Oh, I'm sorry. City manager would like to say something.
Well, I'll just say one thing with this food truck ordinance, because what I'm hearing is that you're okay pursuing them being on public property option. So if you got any concerns, if we can get them by the end of the week, so staff can go ahead and try to address those, and whatever communication we need to have with Ms. Houseman, the sooner we can get those in, the sooner we can.
Yeah.
So that means
The committee meeting.
the committee meeting needs to go ASAP between.
Well, actually.
Oh, wait a minute. Go ahead.
Before you have a committee meeting, I'd like to pull all that information so that committee meeting, hopefully you just get finished then.
Correct.
Perfect.
And that was my aim as well, to get with Cheryl Hard and Ms. Hausman and stuff, and kind of sit down and see, what we can rash out before it comes to a committee, because if we try to rash it out at the committee first, then it's gonna be a long committee meeting.
Not necessarily.
Okay. So thank you, city manager. Is our city attorney would like to say something? Thank you. You want to say something else, Mayor Pro Tem?
No.
All right.
Yes. I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second by Commissioner Brown? There's no discussion on that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.